Hello, I'm the real-life fake wizard. Kathleen Kennedy is out at Lucasfilm. Dave Filoni and Lynwen Brennan are taking over, and I don't really care. Most of us don't. I mean, come on, let's be real. No one really cares. Star Wars is cooked. Lucasfilm is cooked. Dave Filoni is a dunce. The possibility of Star Wars course correcting is teeny tiny. But with Kathy K finally gone, I thought it was time to honor her legacy and have some fun while we do it. Here are 100 failures of Lucasfilm under the leadership of Kathleen Kennedy. Today's indie game shoutout is Blacksmith Hammer. Manage your own medieval smithy inn and supervise the entire process from mining ores and gems to designing and selling finished products. Forge everything from weapons and armor to tools and cooking utensils, funding your craft and becoming the blacksmith master. Learn more about this and hundreds of other indie games by visiting our indie game discovery network, fakeportal.com, or scan the QR code on your screen. Now back to the video. Okay, so organizing this list felt like separating all of the Skittles by different color. And you might see classifications of each item appear on screen like this. Insert special effect. I've broken these down into 5 main classes. Product mistakes being one, organization mistakes, which include management and creative decisions, business, which is direct business dealings, marketing, which is unique in this case. I'm not looking at their direct marketing efforts like paid ads per se. Instead, we're considering how, as we the public discover truths about the inner dealings of Lucasfilm, goodwill with the public eroded. And then, of course, story, including elements in the stories that did the most damage to the brand. I'm not really going to dig into specific line deliveries or singular instances of stupid story beats, just the most damaging overall. And by the end of this, you'll be left thinking, Wizard, shouldn't there be more than 100? Yes, there are. And I leave it to you to tell me in the comments some of your favorite Kathy K failures. But with that, let's begin. Number 1, they unceremoniously removed the expanded universe. The very first thing Lucasfilm did under new management was burn it all down. Decades of stories, hundreds of books, games that people played for thousands of hours. The Thrawn trilogy, the New Jedi Order, Knights of the Old Republic, Dark Forces, Shadows of the Empire, the Darth Plagueis lore book, which was really good. All of it declared non-canon overnight, labeled legends and tossed in the garbage. Now sure, they did this to give themselves a clean slate, to tell their own stories. The problem is now there are extremely high expectations. You need to not only tell stories that fulfill the holes you left behind by dumping the EU, but also your stories need to be even more compelling and satisfying than the EU stories. Spoilers, they weren't. Number 2, they ignored George Lucas's treatments. George Lucas didn't just sell Lucasfilm and peace out. He actually provided treatments for a sequel trilogy. These were his ideas for episodes 7, 8, and 9, where the story should go, what happens to the characters. And we know it wasn't perfect, but they threw it all in the trash. George has talked about this publicly. He felt betrayed, and you know what? I don't blame him. The George Lucas stories should have been used at minimum as reference points from which to build your new stories upon. Number 3, there was no unified plan for the sequel trilogy. There was no plan. None. Zero. This has been confirmed repeatedly by everyone involved. Daisy Ridley has talked about this, Oscar Isaac has talked about this, J.J. Abrams has talked about this. They made a trilogy of interconnected films without knowing where it was going. With how high the stakes were for this, they should have mapped out the entire trilogy with something like a single source of truth before pen met paper. But no plan meant no direction. Number 4, they hired J.J. Abrams without a trilogy lock. J.J. Abrams directed The Force Awakens. He set up mystery boxes. He planted story threads. Who are Rey's parents? What's Snoke's deal? Where has Luke been? And then he left. He wasn't contracted for all 3 films. He wasn't responsible for paying any of it off. This was insane. Whether it was JJ or not, there should have been one person to come in and be the director and or writer for all 3 films. George was the leader on all 6, even if he wasn't directing. It was still his story from start to finish. Number 5, there was no plan for after the sequel trilogy. Okay, so let's say you accept that they fumbled the sequels. Fine. Surely they had a plan for what comes next, right? Like, what happens after episode 9? Where does the franchise go from here? Nope, nothing. There was no roadmap. There was no vision for the following decade of Star Wars. Number 6, Disney's hands-off approach. Disney paid $4 billion for Lucasfilm and then apparently went on vacation. There was no oversight. There's no accountability. Kathleen Kennedy was given near total autonomy to run the franchise however she wanted. Bob Iger or someone within Disney should have been in those meetings going, "What the hell is happening over there?" But he wasn't. Or if he was, he didn't do anything about it. Number 7, they canceled Star Wars 1313. Star Wars 1313 was an in-development game that looked awesome. It was like Gears of War meets Star Wars. Boba Fett is the protagonist. A grittier, darker take on the whole universe. And then Disney bought Lucasfilm and the game was canceled. Oh, what could have been? Number 8, they canceled the Darth Maul game. There was a Darth Maul game in development at the same time. Early footage looked promising, but it was canceled after the acquisition. Another project fans would have loved, killed before it had a chance. Again, oh, what could have been? Number 9, over-reliance on the volume. The volume is the LED backdrop technology that was created for The Mandalorian. It's impressive tech, sure, but Lucasfilm got addicted to it. What was innovative at first has become a crutch, and the crutch has made everything look cheap and boring ever since. Number 10, they failed to reunite Han, Luke, and Leia. For the first time in decades, all 3 actors were available and willing to do new Star Wars films. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Literally once in a lifetime, because Carrie Fisher has passed away since. People had been waiting 30 years to see these characters together again, and now they'll never have that chance ever again. Number 11, erosion of legacy characters. Every single legacy character brought back was made worse. Systematically. Han, Luke, Leia, Lando, Chewie, the droids, Palpatine, Admiral Akbar, every single one of them was diminished, made smaller, made sadder, made into failures. It's almost like it was intentional. Even Dengar got a deconstruction into some grotesque cyborg. Why? Well, because. Number 12, Han Solo is a failed father and a walkout husband. Han Solo returns in The Force Awakens as a deadbeat dad. His marriage to Leia failed, he abandoned his family, his son became a school shooter in space. This is what they did with one of the most beloved characters in film history. They made him into an emasculated loser. Number 13, Luke Skywalker willing to kill his nephew. Luke Skywalker, the guy who saw good in Darth Vader. The guy who refused to fight his own father. The guy who threw away his lightsaber rather than give in to the darkness. In The Last Jedi, he stands over his sleeping teenage nephew with an ignited weapon, thinking about killing him because he had a bad dream. But Wizard, it was just a moment of weakness. He didn't actually do it. No. Luke had a moment of weakness on the Death Star when he ignited his saber to strike down Palpy. A moment of weakness that is then overcome and character growth achieved after putting down his weapon in the face of that same anger, almost killing his father. This is real character growth. One of the most impactful scenes in cinema of a man letting go of his anger and pain in the belief that there is still good inside someone who's committed atrocities. And that was all thrown away by Bobblehead Johnson. Number 14, Luke Skywalker being a walk-out hero. And then, after that moment of nearly killing his nephew, after he makes that mistake, Luke doesn't try to fix it. He doesn't hunt for Ben. He doesn't warn anyone about Snoke. He doesn't help the Resistance in any way. He just runs off. He hides on an island and drinks green milk while the galaxy burns. The hero of the original trilogy. The man who inspired a generation of kids to believe in themselves, generations actually of kids to believe in themselves, becomes a bitter hermit who abandoned everyone who loved him. Number 15, removing Leia from government after the discovery of her relation to Darth Vader. This one is in the books that set up the sequel trilogy. Leia was removed from the New Republic government when her relation to Darth Vader became public knowledge. The woman who led the rebellion, the diplomat who held the alliance together through the darkest days, was sidelined because of who her daddy was. Further contributing to a point that will come up later, the New Republic is really stupid. Number 16, squandering John Boyega as Finn. Finn was supposed to be a stormtrooper turned Jedi, but they reduced him to comic relief, the screaming guy. The guy who runs around not getting much done. All of his work in The Last Jedi is rendered meaningless by the end. By Rise of Skywalker, he's just yelling, "Rey!" every 5 minutes like a lost puppy. Boyega himself has talked about how disappointed he was with how they handled his character, and rightfully so. Number 17, utilization failure of Rose Tico. Kelly Marie Tran was introduced in The Last Jedi as a major new character, Finn's love interest, central to a huge, stupid subplot. Then, in Rise of Skywalker, she has maybe 5 minutes of screen time. She's basically a background extra now. Whether you loved or hated Rose, introducing someone as a major player and then completely benching them in the next movie is weak storytelling. You could have done something with this character to undo the damage from Last Jedi, but instead, Lucasfilm was just too cowardly. Number 18, squandering Captain Phasma. Gwendolyn Christie, in chrome armor, marketed as the next Boba Fett. She was on every poster, every promotional image, every toy shelf, the imposing villain in shiny armor. She does nothing in The Force Awakens except get captured and thrown in a trash compactor. She does slightly more nothing in The Last Jedi before falling into fire, never to be seen again. They had someone who could have been genuinely intimidating, and they turned her into a joke. My headcanon is that the book Phasma and the movie Phasma are two different characters, because there's no way these are the same characters. Number 19, squandering the Knights of Ren. Who are the Knights of Ren? Good question. They appeared in flashbacks looking menacing, they stood around being mysterious, and then in Rise of Skywalker, they showed up just to get killed by Ben Solo in about 30 seconds. Another mystery box with nothing inside. Another cool-looking thing that amounted to absolutely nothing. Deconstructionism. The Last Jedi was there to deconstruct Star Wars, to subvert, to say your expectations about these characters and this universe are wrong, and I, Rian Johnson, am going to show you the truth. I believe deconstruction works when you build something new in something that's already rubble. You tear down the old to make way for something better, but that thing you're tearing down has to already be pretty much dead. Rian Johnson tore everything down and offered nothing to replace it. Luke's a failure. The Jedi were flawed. Your heroes suck. Now what? He didn't have an answer to the now what. He just had the deconstruction. Number 21, subverting expectations excessively. Snoke's identity and backstory? Doesn't matter. He's dead now. Rey's parentage that everyone theorized about 2 years for? Nobody special. Her parents were drunks who sold her for drinking money. Luke's triumphant return to heroism? Actually, he's a bitter coward who milks sea creatures. The Resistance's entire plan fails. Finn's sacrifice, stopped by Rose so she can lecture him about saving what you love. The subversion became the plot. Every single setup from The Force Awakens was deliberately undermined, not resolved, not paid off, undermined. Number 22, Canto Bight subplot irrelevance. Finn and Rose spend a significant portion of The Last Jedi on a side quest to a casino planet. They need to find a codebreaker. They don't find the one they're looking for, they find a different guy. They go on a whole adventure with space horses and child slaves. They get the codebreaker back to the ship, then the mission fails. It accomplishes nothing. The Resistance would have been in the exact same position if Finn and Rose had just stayed on the ship and played space bingo the whole time. Number 23, the Holdo maneuver. Admiral Holdo rams her ship into the First Order fleet at lightspeed. It looks cool visually, but it also breaks the entire logic of space combat in this universe. If you can destroy an entire fleet by jumping to lightspeed through it, why has no one ever done this before? Why build a Death Star when you can just strap a hyperdrive to an asteroid? Why have any space battles at all? Just kamikaze jump through everything. It's bad world building. It's the kind of thing that makes you realize no one was thinking about the larger mythology. Also, the space debris here from all of the destroyed ships will render this part of space unflyable forever. Number 24, failure to capitalize on Snoke's death. Snoke dies halfway through The Last Jedi. Kylo Ren kills him and takes over the First Order. This could have been interesting. I think you could have gone anywhere with that except for the boring direction that they went. Any story direction was possible, but instead, they bring back Palpatine and make Snoke into a lackey. Number 25, lack of clarity for Rey's overpowered abilities. Rey picks up a lightsaber for the first time and defeats a well-trained Force user. She uses mind tricks with no training. She does force pulls and lifts massive objects immediately. She's good at everything the moment she tries it, never failing, never losing. It's unbelievable, and it's sadly boring. Number 26, inconsistent Force mechanics. Leia floats through space using the Force after being blown out of a ship. Okay. Force projection kills Luke from exertion. Sure. Force healing appears randomly in The Rise of Skywalker with not nearly enough setup. Fine. Characters can now teleport objects to each other across the galaxy? What are we doing here, man? Did Rey just explode a mountain with the Force? The rules of what the Force can and cannot do become whatever the plot needed at any given moment. When there are no rules, there are no stakes. When anything can happen, nothing matters. Number 27, bringing back Palpatine. Somehow, Palpatine returned. This decision damages the original trilogy. Anakin's sacrifice means less because he didn't actually kill Palpatine. The victory at the end of Return of the Jedi means less because the Emperor was just building another army the whole time. The prophecy of the Chosen One means less because Anakin didn't actually destroy the Sith. He just temporarily inconvenienced them. All of this so Lucasfilm could have recognizable villains in Episode 9, because they killed their new villain too quickly. Brilliant planning. Number 28, the Sith dagger that matches Death Star wreckage. In Rise of Skywalker, there's a dagger with a hidden mechanism that, if you hold it up at just the right angle, at just the right position, and the jagged edge matches the outline of the Death Star wreckage exactly, it points to a specific room where a MacGuffin item is hidden. Think about this for like 5 seconds, because this has kept me up at night. The dagger was made after the Death Star crashes. So firstly, the vaporization of the Death Star in Return of the Jedi didn't actually do much. And then the wreckage floats down to Endor, not burning up through the atmosphere or anything, lands in the ocean, I guess, and then some Sith dude sits down and maps out the exact pattern of where the star map is from like a mile away on the land. Why not go retrieve the star map and then bury it in the ground or something? You know, like at this point, go get it, because this is ridiculous. And then the indicator is planted in a Sith dagger that needs to line up perfectly with the decaying remnants of the Death Star wreckage. What are we doing here, man? What are we doing? What are we doing? Because this is stupid. You know why this worked in the Goonies? Because it was hunting on an ancient treasure map that had no technology, and the actual hidden MacGuffin was an ancient pirate ship. It made sense that whoever created these clues was forced to use the technology of their time. But we're talking about Star Wars in space with space wizards. If an overweight diner owner with a mustache can know the secret location of a lost planet of cloning geniuses, then Sith Dagger Moron can retrieve the star map and put it somewhere else. We're not even to 30 yet. Number 29, Exegol fleet illogic. Palpatine has a massive fleet hidden on Exegol, hundreds of Star Destroyers, each with planet-killing weapons attached. Where did the crews come from? Who built these ships? How has this armada been supplied and maintained for decades in secret? Where did they get the resources? How did no one notice? Don't ask questions, just accept that the Emperor has a million dudes with death lasers for some reason. And he decided not to use these script says so resources until after he was killed the first time. At least the lore for Starkiller Base made sense. They turned Ilum, the planet, practically made of kyber crystals, into a weapon. Like, that's feasible. It's silly, but it's feasible. But this is ridiculous. Number 30, Maz Kanata's lightsaber acquisition. Maz Kanata has Luke's lightsaber, the one that fell down a shaft on Cloud City along with Luke's severed hand. How did she get it? A good question for another time, she says. That other time never came. It's never explained. Not in the movies, barely in the supplemental material. It's another mystery box that was never meant to have an answer. But interestingly, how did she get the lightsaber and Palpatine retrieves the hand? This is a two-part stupid story mistake. Number 31, as I promised earlier, the incompetent New Republic. The New Republic, as per the Mandoverse, are incompetent, unreliable, corrupt, and defeated easily, completely undermining the importance of dismantling the Empire in the original films. If you wanted to kill the Republic like they did in Force Awakens, like that's one thing. They could still have been protagonists. You could have still been rooting for them. They could have still been the same positively empowered government we were told Han, Luke, Leia, Mon Mothma, Lando, and Admiral Akbar fought to create. But instead, the Battle of Endor is almost immediately squandered with bureaucracy and incompetent leaders. The Mandoverse makes you root for the Empire to win. Number 32, Lando's relationship with droids. In Solo, there's a suggestion that Lando had relations with L337. This was a choice that someone made. Multiple people approved this. It made it into the final film. Why? What is this at? What audience was asking for this, that Lando sleeps with droids? Did we need that? F***ing perverts. For the next few here, we're going to rapid fire announcements and headlines that never should have been made. These are projects we never should have learned about until they were well into development, because each of these failures contributed to declining brand trust. You can announce anything, but your failure to deliver on that will always be remembered. Number 33, the Rian Johnson trilogy. Years passed, nothing happened. Just constant reminders that it's still in the works, as more of a wink nod to the fans that this dude is hiding in the closet and under the bed and could make more content to ruin Star Wars anytime. Number 34, signing Benioff and Wise. Number 35, Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron. Number 36, the 2020 Investor Day announcements. Most of what was announced hasn't happened. Rangers got canceled. Lando is in development hell. A droid story canceled. The announcements were designed to pump investor confidence, not reflect production reality. Number 37, the Rey Skywalker film announcement. 38, Dawn of the Jedi announcement. 39, video game Star Wars Eclipse announcement. Number 40, the video game KOTOR remake announcement. Number 41, Taika Waititi's Star Wars movie. Please cancel this. Number 42, Kevin Feige's Star Wars movie. This one was stupid. This information never should have come out. That it was even in consideration, or that anyone at Lucasfilm considered this to be anything more than the crappy meme that it was. This was stupid. Number 43, Guillermo del Toro's Jabba the Hutt project. Yeah, del Toro talked about wanting to make a Jabba-focused project. This got reported to us as if it was in development, but it wasn't. It isn't. It was conversations that became headlines. This is a story that Lucasfilm could have harnessed, but squandered. Another missed opportunity. Number 44, over-announcing projects without delivery or substance. And this pulls a lot of these together and also discusses the venue for announcing these projects. Announcements became a pattern. Announce first, figure it out later. Generate the headlines, worry about the execution never. Every Star Wars celebration became less exciting because fans learned that most announcements were white noise. You can walk actors and writers out on stage and say, Louis Guzman is acting in a buddy cop with Salacious B. Crumb, but those empty announcements mean nothing. And the relevance of attending events for these announcements has diminished. Number 45, Colin Trevorrow fired from Episode 9. Colin Trevorrow was announced as the director of Episode 9 and the writer. He developed the project. He wrote a script called Duel of the Fates. Then creative differences emerged and he was fired. This shouldn't have been public knowledge, at least not to the degree in which we discovered everything, because it was damaging information. The more information we know about Rise of Skywalker, the worse that film is. You know, now you're telling us there was an alternate version for this film, but you still ship the J.J. Abrams disaster? Number 46, Phil Lord and Chris Miller fired from Solo. Lord and Miller were the original directors of Solo. They were deep into production. Most of the movie was filmed. Then Lucasfilm fired them and brought in Ron Howard to essentially remake the whole thing. The budget ballooned and everyone knew why the film felt like two different films stitched together. Because it is. Number 47, allowing fans to discover Star Wars Underworld. George Lucas had developed extensive work on a live-action Star Wars television series called Underworld before selling the company. Scripts were written, concepts were developed. Fans eventually learned about this through leaks and interviews, and now we know what could have been. And it will haunt the franchise like a ghost. This is a really interesting story, the whole Star Wars Underworld thing. I invite you to go look it up after this video. At this point, the relationship between Lucasfilm and its audience has been decimated. But rather than course correct, or rather than listen to feedback, Leadership doubled down. They blamed fans, they antagonized critics, they churned out content at a pace that quality couldn't match. Number 48, emboldening critics through hubris. Here's the thing about criticism. When you respond to it with dismissal and contempt, you don't silence critics. You don't make them see your side. You energize them. Lucasfilm's arrogance gave oxygen to voices that might have remained marginal. They created their own opposition. There are creators all over the internet now who made names for themselves by calling out Lucasfilm's errors, follies, and insults. I myself started this channel here after seeing what the Acolyte had done. For years, I was a Star Wars hopeful, a Star Wars apologist even, desperate for Filoni or Favreau or someone to come in and fix the mistakes the sequels made. That never happened. And now, I want nothing more than to see the company shutter and everyone lose their jobs. I held out hope a lot longer than everyone else. It's not my fault they made me hate them. But that's just it. They embolden their antagonists through hubris and arrogance. Number 49, Rian Johnson's post-release behavior. After The Last Jedi divided audiences, Rian Johnson took to social media. Rather than engaging thoughtfully with criticism, he mocked detractors. He dismissed concerns. He made jokes at fans' expense. He gave ammunition to everyone who felt like the new Lucasfilm didn't respect the fan base. He's still doing that to this very day. Number 50, press tour antagonization. The marketing tours for these films and shows often featured actors and filmmakers making dismissive comments about fans who didn't like the new direction. Your Snoke theory sucks. You know, that kind of thing.
Yes, yes.
Leslie Headland and the Acolyte crew mocked fans and legacy characters quite often, just for the fun of it. Number 51, blaming fans to the bitter end. Even as Kathleen Kennedy exits, the narrative from Lucasfilm supporters is that the fans were the problem, the toxic fandom, the impossible to please audience. Never the decisions, never the leadership. Just blame the customers for not buying what you made. Number 52, the discourse distraction. As the world watched the Acolyte burn down the final straw of goodwill with fans and react accordingly online, actress Amanda Stenberg dropped a diss track on Star Wars fans. Yeah, good job. You really got those fans, Stenberg. Fans will never recover after this. Number 53, claiming that no source material exists. Kathleen Kennedy stated publicly that there was no source material to draw from for Star Wars, unlike Marvel's extensive comic book history. This is not true. There were hundreds of novels, decades of comic books and video games with incredible stories. Maybe some of them were cringe, sure, but the expanded universe existed. This statement was spoken either from ignorance or dishonesty, fueling the concept that you people either don't know what you're doing or you want to keep antagonizing the people that want to give you their money. Number 54, the Force is female. Kennedy wore a The Force is female shirt at a Nike promotional event. Whether you agree with the sentiment or not, this became a lightning rod. It suggested an agenda. It gave critics a rallying point. It became Exhibit A for everyone who thought Lucasfilm cared more about messaging than storytelling. You don't hand ammunition to your critics like this. This was a bad move all around. Number 55, over-reliance on influencer shills. Lucasfilm increasingly relied on friendly influencers to market films and run damage control. Paid promotions, early access for positive coverage, flying out to events. This implied massive desperation for Lucasfilm. It was inauthentic, and it massively contributed to toxicity inside the fan base by elevating certain influencers, making them bought and paid for corporate mouthpieces. How do Mickey Mouse's toes taste, you sellouts? Number 56, emotions are not for sharing. This controversy involved Lucasfilm's creative executive Pablo Hidalgo tweeting the phrase, "emotions are not for sharing," in response to YouTuber Star Wars Theory crying over Luke Skywalker's return in Mandalorian Season 2's finale, leading to accusations of Lucasfilm belittling passionate fans. Eventually, after fan backlash, Hidalgo apologized, acknowledging the insensitive timing and stating that he didn't intend to belittle genuine emotion, though the incident highlighted tensions between creators and the paying fans. Number 57, allowing fans to read the Duel of the Fates script. Colin Trevorrow's Episode 9 script leaked. Now fans could read it, analyze it, compare it beat for beat to what we got. For many people, Duel of the Fates was better. That comparison shouldn't have been possible. I personally don't think it was great, but there were plenty of elements in it that were significantly better than anything we got in Rise of Skywalker. Number 58, letting fans discover how much Lucasfilm hates Luke Skywalker. Through interviews and behind-the-scenes content, fans learned that many people at Lucasfilm had, at best, complicated feelings about Luke Skywalker as a character. Mark Hamill's own frustrations became public, like his comments about fundamentally disagreeing with every choice made for the character, a disagreement he had with Rian Johnson. Then we recently found out that he pleaded with J.J. Abrams to reunite Han, Luke, and Leia on screen, only to be met with a knife-in-the-back response: it's not Luke's story anymore. But all of this comes full circle when you learn that Lucasfilm employees literally have photos of Luke on their desks with large red ink circles crossing him out. Disgusting behavior. If you don't like Luke Skywalker, then I don't think you like Star Wars, in which case, get another job, asshole. Number 59, oversaturation of Baby Yoda. Grogu was a genuine phenomenon, an adorable little creature that captured hearts worldwide, and then they put him on everything. T-shirts, toys, cereal boxes, backpacks, credit cards, coffee mugs, socks, Build-A-Bear, everything. You can't walk into a store without seeing Baby Yoda's face staring at you from 40 different products. This all would have been okay if Grogu had something to actually do in the show, which he doesn't. And by the end of Season 3, you just don't care anymore. They squandered the cute factor of a Baby Yoda. Number 60, The Mandalorian Season 3 quality drop. The first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian were the brightest spots in the Kennedy era. Finally, Star Wars that didn't feel like it was trying to lecture you or subvert your expectations. Just good weekly adventure storytelling. Season 3 was a noticeable step down. The focus shifted away from Din Djarin and Grogu. Bo-Katan became the main character for chunks of it. Plot lines meandered. Season 2 ended with Mando being propped up to become the new King of Mandalore. That was immediately dismantled and given to Bo-Katan. The Mythosaur went nowhere. We still haven't seen it. The one reliable show they had was ruined. Number 61, failing to capitalize on Mandalorian momentum. You have a hit show. Audiences are finally excited about Star Wars again, to some extent. Grogu is everywhere. The vibes are good. What do? If you're Lucasfilm, you wait years to make a theatrical film. You don't strike while the iron is hot. You let the momentum dissipate. And that's where we are right now. Season 3 ended on a whimper, and 3 years later, you expect audiences are gonna come back for a Mando Grogu film? I don't think so, buddy. Number 62, non-ending endings. Modern Lucasfilm shows don't end. They set up future projects. Ahsoka ends on a cliffhanger. Acolyte ends on a cliffhanger. Mandalorian Season 2 ends on a cliffhanger. Bad Batch had cliffhanger endings. Maybe a movie is next. Maybe another season. Who knows? Maybe it'll be a book, comic book. Nothing feels complete. Everything is a commercial for the next thing. The games have this problem too. Jedi Survivor and Star Wars Outlaws both end on cliffhanger endings. Just tell one good story, please. Just do one. Just get one good one, and then if you want to make a sequel later, make the sequel later, but give one completed story. Number 63, over-reliance on ancillary media. Want to understand what's happening in the shows? Read the comics, read the books, play the games too. The movies and television shows increasingly require homework. Plot points are established in novels. Character development happens off-screen these days. It's not just a Stranger Things problem. Number 64, and I can't believe I'm saying this, too much Darth Vader in comics and books. Darth Vader is one of the greatest villains in film history. His power came partially from his mystique. In the expanded media under Kennedy, Vader is everywhere. Comic series after comic series. He's been so overexposed that any mystery is gone, constantly engaging in overpowered and non-filmed activity, using powers and engaging in plots that make our New Hope version of the character appear weaker and weaker. Stop making Vader content. I love Darth Vader, but enough is enough. Number 65, continuing to bring back Darth Maul. Maul came back in Clone Wars, then Rebels, then Solo. Now he's getting his own series that takes place before Rebels. At a certain point, death means nothing in this franchise. Characters return because they're popular, not because the story demands it. And similar to the Vader thing, Darth Maul was a stoic, silent killer. He didn't speak, and even if he did, his words had weight. The Dave Filoni Darth Maul is a whiny loser that never wins a single fight. How many times do we need to see Maul lose? I think we've all had enough. Order 66, Rebels Empire incompetence. In Star Wars Rebels, the Galactic Empire loses basically every single encounter with the Ghost crew, week after week after week. The most powerful military force in the galaxy gets humiliated by like 6 people on one ship. And this isn't just a Rebels problem. Really, it's a storytelling issue. The more we see the Empire, the more we see them lose. Eventually, they're not nearly as threatening or menacing as the original films made them out to be. This is very similar to the Vader problem. You have robbed the Empire of their mystery. Number 67, Clone Wars Season 7 was a waste. The final season of Clone Wars included new characters, the Martez sisters. 3 episodes of a limited episode series were relegated to extremely unlikable and boring characters. It was widely considered one of the weakest storylines in the entire series, not just that whole season. And fans questioned why this material was prioritized. But to make it worse, there are early scene remnants left over from what the original Season 7 was supposed to be before it was canceled. Scenes like Obi-Wan and Anakin having a final heart-to-heart before the events of Revenge of the Sith. Scenes like Boba Fett and Cad Bane facing off and Boba getting the infamous dent in his helmet. Important scenes like this were replaced by the Martez sisters. Drug dealers, by the way. They're drug dealers. Number 68, Battlefront 2 story inconsistencies. Operation Cinder in Battlefront 2's campaign doesn't align cleanly with other Star Wars media. Specifically, Palpy still being alive in Rise of Skywalker. Oh, I'm sure someone in the comments is going to explain this away. There were like 18 comics I needed to read to understand it, right? Number 69, Ewan McGregor's response to Moses Ingram's harassment. Moses Ingram received racist harassment online after Obi-Wan premiered. Yeah, that's unacceptable, sure. Like, that's bad, 100%. That happened, that's bad. I mean, I believe it. It's the internet. People say quite awful and terrible things, racist things, even death threats. But we don't really take that seriously. I got a few death threats even just a few days ago. But Lucasfilm had Ewan McGregor make a cringe video response that felt preemptive and performative. It shifted discussion away from whether the show was good to discourse about fan toxicity. Number 70, the Reva lightsaber Hasbro failure. Hasbro ran a HasLab crowdfunding campaign for a Reva lightsaber. These campaigns usually succeed early. Star Wars fans, they used to buy everything. This one failed. A public, measurable rejection of a character Lucasfilm had pushed heavily. And then it stayed visible on the platform for everyone to point at and mock for years. A constant reminder for toy collectors that the Star Wars of old is gone. Everything we've talked about so far can be discussed as maybe psychological, right? Story, marketing, organizational, creative decisions. But now we're going to talk about some direct business losses, usually from more bad decisions. Number 71, extensive reshoots constantly inflating costs. Rogue One had extensive reshoots. Solo had extensive reshoots. Rise of Skywalker had reshoots. Everything seems to require fixing after the fact. These reshoots cost hundreds of millions of dollars, making the required ticket sales to break even higher. Number 72, Solo's box office failure. Solo became the first Star Wars movie to lose money at the box office. For the first time ever, people chose not to show up for a Star Wars theatrical release. A devastating failure that contributed to not getting any more movies in theaters for fear of failing again. Number 73, decline in toy sales. Star Wars toy sales collapsed under Kennedy's tenure. What was once the most reliable merchandise brand in entertainment history started hitting clearance aisles. Kids aren't asking for Star Wars toys anymore. Number 74, overall box office decline. The Force Awakens made $2.07 billion. Last Jedi dropped to $1.33 billion. Solo crashed to $393 million and became the first Star Wars movie to lose money. Rise of Skywalker limped to $1.08 billion. In 4 years, they went from $2 billion to a box office bomb to just barely crossing $1 billion. That's not a franchise building momentum. It's a franchise bleeding out. Sure, all 3 sequels made money. Yeah, all right, I hear you in the comments. But the decline of the amount of money makes it risky to make new movies now at all. Number 75, the Ollie's phenomenon. Ollie's bargain outlet became a graveyard for unsold Star Wars products. Fans documented aisles filled with discounted merchandise, mountains of Star Wars product that couldn't sell at full price. This is damning, and it makes the entire brand look weak. I don't actually know what Disney should have done in this case. I don't have any recommendations, but allowing creators and the world-class bullshitters to not only document it for the masses, but also for regular people to constantly see this Star Wars stuff in deep discount stores. Like, that makes the brand look terribly weak. Number 76, the Galactic Star Cruiser. The Star Wars Hotel, 2 nights for $5,000 or more. An immersive experience where you live on a ship and go on adventures, and play Space Bingo, and do a scavenger hunt in Batuu. The Star Wars LARP Hotel closed after less than 2 years of operation. A reported $300 million investment shut down because they couldn't fill rooms. This is the most expensive failure in theme park history. Number 77, Galaxy's Edge attendance disconnect. Galaxy's Edge was designed around the sequel trilogy. The setting is Batuu, a planet that doesn't appear in any movie. No classic Luke, no classic Vader. Early attendance disappointed expectations. Yes, COVID was an issue at the time, but COVID's been long gone, and there was never that pilgrimage boom Disney anticipated. Just a few days ago, they added more classic trilogy elements because people want to see things they recognize. When someone visits one of the many Harry Potter lands in Universal, they immediately feel like they're in the movies. When you step into Batuu, you have to look around and find specific Star Wars things to make you feel immersed in the world. Binding Galaxy's Edge to a world that general audiences don't recognize dramatically reduces any possibility of immersion. And then tying the lore of the world to comics, books, the Sims 4 expansion pack, and demo-like VR games is just expensive homework and not something nearly as worthwhile as just walking off the Hogwarts Express into Hogsmeade with your family and drinking butterbeer with the Hogwarts Castle in the background view. Number 78, the Galaxy's Edge goods. The custom lightsabers at Savvy's workshop were never impressive. The Galaxy's Edge sabers are large, expensive, have unreliable build quality, and they're very heavy. They're more like display pieces than toys. And upon release, the build-your-own Savvy saber cost $200. Considered expensive at the time, but even more so today. The Savvy saber experience now costs $275 in Disney World, and they don't even give you a travel bag anymore. You used to get a travel bag, now no more bag. I have a quick story about this because the Savvy's experience for me is branded on my brain forever. The year was like 2021 and my family and I were in Disney. We went to Galaxy's Edge and it was my brother and I were going to do the Savvy's experience for $400 because it would be for the both of us. $200 a piece. And we're standing online and you could bring someone in with you. So my sister is online as our +1 to see the show because there's this whole show with it. And as I swipe my card, again, to charge $400, my sister says, "Hey, did you know Mom is sick again?" Yeah, like she's really sick. She's going for tests as soon as we get back from this trip. They think the cancer's back. And you're telling me this now? When I'm most vulnerable? So here my dumbass is standing there assembling a fucking $200 lightsaber like a little kid, thinking the entire world is crashing around me and trying not to crack or show any emotion, just thinking, I gotta get the fuck out of here. Yoda comes on the intercom. The force inside you it is. Drop this heavy toy on your foot, you must not. And then the piece of crap wasn't working, so now we gotta get the cavalry of minimum wage 19-year-old Gen Zs to come over and diagnose why my $200 saber isn't lighting up like everyone else's. The show comes to a screeching halt. Big Bubba Joaquin doing the show says, these things do happen. We are junk collectors, you know, as the bead of sweat comes down his face. My sister's in the back saying, you paid $200 for this junk? Warranty there is not. Later that night, I reaffirmed my faith in Jesus Christ because I've been to hell and I'm not going back. Number 79, the Acolyte's cost. The Acolyte reportedly cost over $180 million for one season of television. It got canceled. That money produced no ongoing return, doing more brand damage than any other Disney Plus edition. Number 80, failure to attract fresh audiences. Star Wars under Kathleen Kennedy largely relied on existing fans getting older. The new movies didn't create a new generation of obsessives the way the originals and even the prequels did. There is no Star Wars youth. Children don't care, and the Gen X and millennials are less eager to share Star Wars with their children as they no longer have emotional attachments to it. There is no new blood coming to Star Wars. Number 81, Leslie Headland's PR campaign. The showrunner of The Acolyte spent significant interview time discussing themes and representation rather than story. The marketing felt like it was selling a message rather than entertainment, and even after the series was canceled, she continued to speak on the matter, claiming that she was surprised at how publicly it was canceled by Disney, blaming the online negativity on fascists and racists and snake-oiled salesmen. Number 82, firing Gina Carano. Gina Carano was fired from The Mandalorian over social media posts. Whether you agree with the firing or not, the public nature of it created controversy that dominated news cycles for weeks. Recently, Carano's lawsuit about the firing ended in a settlement from Disney, with Carano saying that it was, quote, the best outcome for all parties involved. The bystanders watching this widely considered Disney and Lucasfilm to be the losers of this legal battle, having to pay out an unknown amount of money to Carano. Number 83, Willow's cancellation and removal. Willow got a revival series on Disney+. It was canceled after one season. Then Disney removed the show entirely from the platform. You cannot watch it anymore through legitimate means. That is an incredible sign of failure when it's been deleted from legally viewable sources. Number 84, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Indy 5 cost around $300 million to make. It grossed $384 million worldwide. After theaters take their cut, Disney lost significant money. Another legacy franchise destroyed at the hands of Disney-Lucasfilm. Number 85, Star Wars Outlaws reception. Ubisoft's Star Wars Outlaws launched to mixed reviews, technical issues, aggressive monetization. The Star Wars gaming brand continues to underperform its potential. While the game's failure has more to do with Ubisoft's mismanagement for making a garbage game, Lucasfilm still looks bad in this situation. For a Star Wars many million-dollar game to financially flop as hard as Outlaws did, it indicates the brand's weakness, and not just for the game's developer. Number 86, Battlefront 2 Loot Box Disaster. EA's Battlefront 2 launched with aggressive pay-to-win mechanics. The backlash was unprecedented. Regulators and lawmakers started talking about loot boxes as gambling. Belgium outright banned them. EA's response to criticism on Reddit became the most downvoted comment in the platform's history at the time. Child gambling is a phrase that was now permanently associated with Star Wars. Number 87, Book of Boba Fett's unfocused identity. The Book of Boba Fett couldn't decide what show it wanted to be. Multiple episodes were essentially backdoor Mandalorian episodes. Luke Skywalker showed up, the finale was more about Din Djarin than Boba himself, and it led to fans getting off the train for the entire Mandoverse. The ratings for Mandalorian Season 3 declined, and that was because of the Book of Boba Fett's contributions. Number 88, Character Assassination of Boba Fett. Boba Fett gets a few points on here, and that's because he was the most feared bounty hunter in the galaxy. He was silent, he was intimidating, audiences thought he was menacing even. In Book of Boba Fett, he becomes a guy who wants to rule a crime syndicate through kindness. He hangs out with cyborg Power Rangers, teenagers not with attitude, but with Tumblr accounts. The character's edge was completely squandered away. Number 89, Book of Boba Fett character wastes. Black Chrysanthemum, Fennec Shand, Cad Bane. The show brought in characters recognizable from other mediums and other shows, and then did nothing interesting with any of them. Using this garbage show to serve as the death of Cad Bane was a complete waste. They don't even take the time to introduce who he is to the context of this show. He just shows up at the end to be a final boss. Number 90, converting Boba Fett from movie to series. This is the last Boba Fett point. There was reportedly a Boba Fett movie in development. It was going to be done by James Mangold and be a gritty Boba Fett film that takes place after Return of the Jedi. Instead, we got this garbage series that took the character back into the metaphorical Sarlacc pit. Number 91, converting Obi-Wan from a movie to a series. It's the same story with Obi-Wan Kenobi. A movie became a limited series. The concept was stretched thin over 6 or 8, however many terrible episodes. Everything save for the first season of Mandalorian would have been better if it was a 90-minute feature film. Disney Plus stories are too empty to fill 8 episodes of content. Number 92, Obi-Wan lets Vader live. In their final confrontation in the series, Obi-Wan defeats Darth Vader. He has him beaten, and then he walks away, leaving Vader alive. Obi-Wan now knows Vader is still out there doing terrible things and murdering people, and he chooses to let him live. It also means that Vader knows Obi-Wan is still out there and doesn't keep hunting him. This is really lore-shattering. Also, what's the deal with the boulders? These boulders do no damage to Vader, and how is Obi-Wan just lobbing boulders like Rey? Number 93. Reva almost kills Luke Skywalker. The Inquisitor Reva tracks Luke Skywalker to Tatooine. She nearly kills the child who is supposed to save the galaxy, and she knows Luke is Anakin's son. This is even more lore-shattering. Number 94. Ahsoka's setup without payoff. Star Wars Rebels ended on a cliffhanger in 2018. The Ahsoka series was years of buildup. It was leaked to be in talks in 2019. It was announced officially in 2020, and it didn't premiere on Disney Plus until 2023. That was a 5-year buildup to the return of these rebel characters, where nothing happened in this show. This show is a complete waste of time. It is padded to death. The entire show could have been reduced to a 60-minute special because so little happened. There is a Patterson cut reducing the show down to just 2.5 hours, and I still think that's too long. There is nothing satisfying about this series at all. A 5-year wait and then week to week to week of episodes that aren't satisfying in weekly isolation, and then it ends on one of the worst cliffhangers in the entire franchise. Buckle up, mortals. We're coming back for Ahsoka 2 later this year, and they're bringing in Abeloth from the EU this time around. This show, specifically, is why I have no faith in Dave Filoni. Number 95, Thrawn written as an idiot. Grand Admiral Thrawn is one of the most beloved characters from the expanded universe. His whole thing is being a tactical genius. In Ahsoka, he makes bafflingly bad decisions. They brought back this beloved character and made him incompetent. I would say that he was smarter in Rebels, but even then, he's supposed to be this master tactician, and he loses constantly. Number 96, failing to integrate the High Republic. The High Republic era was launched across books and comics. Integration into other media has been minimal. The Acolyte flopped. The High Republic was a big deal in Jedi Survivor, but not nearly enough to the extent of understanding what the High Republic was or why we should care. The High Republic could have been used to expand the Star Wars world, but instead, nothing. And no reason to care. Number 97, High Republic book sales. The High Republic was said to have had a strong launch in 2021, but based on available sales indicators, there was a massive drop-off across its 3 phases of books, leading to a quiet wrap-up and a shove-it-under-the-bed conclusion in 2025. Yeah, the High Republic is over. And not only that, you watching right now, like, this video might be the first time you ever learned the High Republic existed or was a thing at all. Lucasfilm can't even move Star Wars books anymore. Number 98, Darth Vader AI in Fortnite. As if the brand wasn't weak enough, Darth Vader appeared as a character in Fortnite. Players were able to have ridiculous and silly conversations with Darth Vader, which means they were able to prompt him to say, well, just about anything.
Emperor Palpatine, is this newfound fascination with big booty Latinas crucial to our success here?
Now, yes, there have been toys for decades that have been used to say silly things, right? Like, the act of having this toy isn't inherently bad. It's fun. But amongst everything else, like all of the points that we've already said, amongst all of the failures everywhere, this felt like a desperate act to make a couple bucks on a Fortnite license rather than being some kind of special event. This is the zombie walking around. Like, Star Wars is dead, and it feels like we're disrespecting a corpse. Number 99, somehow Palpatine returned, relegated to Fortnite. I can't believe we have 2 Fortnite points on here. Yeah, the title crawl of Rise of Skywalker says, "The dead speak. The galaxy has heard a mysterious broadcast, a threat of revenge in the sinister voice of the late Emperor Palpatine." That scene where the dead speak, it's in Fortnite. It's not in the movie. A critical scene that is referenced in the title crawl of the finale to the Skywalker films is located as a lore event in Fortnite. Number 100, Disney Plus oversaturation. Everything goes to streaming. Star Wars became content. an endless stream of products designed to keep people subscribed. Whereas the original films were stories that stuck with you for years and years, the Disney Plus model created an environment where Star Wars is fast food. It's the McRib. It's here for a little while, and then it goes away, and you think, I don't want to eat that ever again. And over the course of a few years, you try it again and again when it goes back on the menu, each time reminding yourself that you didn't like it the last time. And then you realize the power of one McRib, the power of two McRibs, and the power of one too many McRibs. And you finally stop going back because it's disgusting and it's just not good for you. Star Wars used to be special. Movies were events. You went to the theater, you waited in line, you talked about it for years, and now it's just another terrible show that drops on Thursdays sometimes. 100 failures. 100 decisions that damaged Star Wars. And I could have kept going. I could have given way more context for each of the 100, but let's be real. You already know all of them. You're aware that Lucasfilm has been destroyed. The legacy of Star Wars has been diminished. You already know that. When you're the steward of one of the most valuable entertainment properties in human history, your job is to not screw it up. Your job is to protect the brand, to grow the audience, to leave things better than you found them. By those metrics, the Kathleen Kennedy era was a failure. And while I would say, let's wait to see what Dave Filoni and Lynwen Brennan come up with, I don't care. And I don't think you do either. Bye-bye, Star Wars! It was really good for a long while. Until next time, create, innovate, inspire others to do so as well, and for the love of God, cancel Disney Plus. Yub nub. Eat shut. Yub nub. I don't know the rest of the words. Victory celebration is better. Dun 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 dun. Victory celebration is better. Victory celebration is better. Okay, that's enough.